The other chart that I'm really looking at is SMH, the semiconductor chart. Since the November low of last year, it appears to be an incomplete uptrend. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. I would like to see one more fifth wave make it up into this 448. But this pattern right here doesn't really have a move that would last into May, June, like the Qs. It just doesn't. So that's one knock against the Qs making that move. Maybe it will, and maybe I've got my count wrong, but it's hard to see that. The thing we got to be on alert for is this right here, this move, final move, being a truncated fifth wave. Now, we called this out in real time with Microsoft, right? Microsoft had a truncated fifth wave here in late October. That's when the fifth wave doesn't go above the third wave. And what tends to happen is a pretty dramatic drop when you see a truncated fifth wave. And Microsoft did not disappoint. So if that happens, we need to be on guard for that. If SMH breaks below 397.77 to be exact, this low right here, on February 17th, that's concerning. If we close this gap and go below it at 384.71 right here, then I don't see a count that's going to take you higher. And it would, that would be a very big warning. And so I thought we would look at some semiconductor charts to kind of get an idea of where this might go. And you can kind of see the warnings in some of these charts. So for example, ASML, we've covered this stock for a while, but it's been very strong lately, one of the stronger semiconductors. And off the 2022 low, this is the count that makes the most sense, that we're in some kind of an ending diagonal. You get 1, 2, A, B, and the move up 2025 low is a five-wave pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5. You'll note how momentum fading as we go higher. Volume was fading as we were going higher. And then all of a sudden, right as selling kicked in, volume really kicks up. You don't want to see that change in trend. Usually what you want to see is volume expanding as you go higher. And then as you go lower, volume gets lower. It usually means, you're in some kind of a bull market. But once the reverse happens, that's usually a warning sign. And this looks like a fifth wave right here. Maybe we get one more high, but I don't know how much higher we would really go considering the pattern is so complete. So it's a big warning, in my opinion. TSM, also a very strong semi. It tends to lead Nvidia and the AI accelerators that we follow. So I was calling this out as well a while ago with SMH. Back when it was in here in kind of late January, I was like, this is an incomplete uptrend. We need a fifth wave higher, and it needs to target this box right here. And that's exactly what we got. We now have a fifth wave, and note how that fifth wave made a new high on less volume and lower momentum than the third wave right here. That's clearly a fifth wave. And this is part of a bigger five-wave pattern, right? So this move right here, the bigger fifth wave, continued to push higher on lower momentum and lower volume than the third wave right here. And so I look at this and I'm like, that's a big warning. All waves are in place. Can we extend and get one more little high? Maybe. But it's all in place. And then you start looking at Nvidia. Nvidia topped here in late October. And what's going on in this red section, this consolidation, is institutions are very, very active. This right here tracks institutional block trades. And it's institutions because, like, for example, this trade that happened here on December 19th at $181 was a $11.6 billion trade, a single move of $11.6 billion. So who has the money to do that? Institutions, obviously. And you can see them very active in this zone, which means they're either buying or they're selling. Now, we saw this in real time with Credo, right? We were tracking this in real time. We came to believe that they were selling due to the fact of what we were picking up, with the changes within the AI stat, within like the move away from copper. And so we just logged a gain and moved on. But with Nvidia, what are they doing? And whenever they're done accumulating or distributing, we're going to see either a breakout above 200 or we're going to see a breakdown below 170.31, basically this low right here on December 17th, or we're going to get above 200. The problem I have with the breakout over 200 is that the only pattern I see pushing us higher is a diagonal, an ending diagonal. So 1, 2, A, B, and then we kind of get some kind of a third wave here, 4, then 5. We could see some kind of buying pressure, just kind of drift higher, and then all of a sudden it drops. But this is concerning to me. I know institutions are either buying or selling. We're not sure what they're doing. The best case scenario is a fifth wave ending diagonal. Not ideal. It's just not ideal. And then we go on to Broadcom. Same situation. This zone right here in red, as you can see, institutions are extremely active. I mean, the largest trade in Broadcom's history, which was what? I'm not sure if I can. There it is. Yeah, $22 billion trade happened in this zone. I mean, think about that. One trade, $22 billion. That's either an excessive amount of supply hitting the market or demand, right? And so if it is supply, once they're done, we'll see a vertical drop below 295.30. The way that I'm counting this, I think the top is actually in with Broadcom. And the move off this low, you can see is 1, 2, 3. So it's just not looking like a 5-wave move. Maybe it's some kind of a diagonal. I don't know. But I think you might see some kind of an uptrend or push that targets at 378, probably fails under 390, and then you turn lower, breaking 295 and heading towards 250, confirming that you're in some kind of a period of volatility. Okay. If we do break out over 390, then I expect to see a move that would take us up to 509, 559, somewhere in there. The problem, as I said, this bounce is only 3 waves. And the bigger pattern for Broadcom is a 5-wave move. What that means is the 5th wave should be 5 waves. It's fractal, right? And we're not seeing that yet. So that's concerning. So when I look at the semiconductor sector, we're looking for, is this a truncated 5th wave, an SMH? Are we going to get one more high? TSM looks like it put in a top. ASML looks like it put in a top. Maybe it gets one more little move. Nvidia, huge consolidation with institutions very active in this zone. We're going to find out what they want to do, but best case scenario is a 5th wave higher. Broadcom, I think that it did put in a top, and we're not seeing a 5-wave bounce. So that's telling me that you're probably going to fail under 390, then drop lower. So that's not good. And then we look at other sectors, so I'll take a look at, other divergences. So financial conditions, really a crude measure of liquidity in the economy. It topped in January, right? The S&P has been pushing up against it. That's a warning. High beta topped here in early October, clearly put in a top. Best case scenario is some kind of a lower high if we do get a bounce. Equal weight S&P 500 also put in a top here in late October, has failed to make this is the equal weight Mag 7, failed to make new highs. Financials, this is your big banks. They put in a top as well in early January. Small caps, I think they put in a top. It's hard to see a count that would get you higher. But I mean, these are, think about this. Think about how many markets are falling like dominoes here. And the one that's concerning to me the most is the Mag 7. Equal weight Mag 7 index. Every time it diverges, in other words, the S&P makes a new high and it makes a lower high, you tend to see a period of volatility. It's like clockwork, right? This is the longest divergence in its history. Longer than we saw from December to February, longer than we saw from November to January. It's been several months that we've seen this divergence right here while the S&P just consolidates and drifts higher. And if we look at the stocks in that index, Microsoft put in the top. We called this out in real time as well. I think that this pattern is incomplete. We're in a C wave, so 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we need one more drop. I don't know if we'll get it, but it looks like we need one more drop. If not, then we need to break out over 416 right here, 13 right around there. If we can get above there, the odds are going to favor that we're in a bigger B wave. But any bounce, I expect to make a lower high, and then we turn lower. You take a look at Amazon. We called this one out in real time as well. Clearly put it in the top. There's no pattern that I can see that I could find that's going to take you higher. So we had A from November 3rd, A. Oh, excuse me, this is a more complicated correction. So WX, and then you have an A, B, and then you're in a C wave here. 1, 2, vertical drop for 3. There's 4. And we do have a 5th wave right here. I think that it counts better with one more low, but you don't have to have that. If we break above this high right here at like 212, 213, we should be in the B wave. But I expect Amazon to make a lower high. All right, moving on to Google. I had to change my count. So there's 2 counts that I'm tracking. The first one is that we put in the top. And if we break below 252.40, then that's confirmed. The other count, and look at how oversold we are, volume is starting to decelerate as we go lower. We're probably going to get some kind of a B wave bounce. And if we stay under 349, we should turn lower and find some kind of a low above 252, and that would be a 4th wave. And then you get your bigger bounce, which would be a 5th wave. So Google does have a path higher. I can't say that about Microsoft, I can't say that about Amazon, but Google does have a path higher. Apple also has a path higher. We only have 3 waves up off the January low, so it would be an ending diagonal. So 1, 2, we get our 3, 4, 5 targeting up here in this way, 326 range. Probably early May, early April. It kind of lines up with that early April, late March timeframe. But if we break below 251.94, odds are going to favor a low being, the top actually happened here in December. Break below 243.19 and it's 100% confirmed. So while Apple has a path higher, it's an ending diagonal, which is not ideal. Meta 2 has a path higher. It actually has a big path higher. I'm not sure if it's going to take it right now. This bounce off the low in November is 3 waves. So I wouldn't be shocked if we see one more flush towards this like 543 area. As long as we hold 482.45, then this ultra bullish count is in play. And I'm just following the pattern here. Doesn't really make sense how it, how would Meta actually, be, marching to its own drum, considering how the size of it and the indexes that it's in the passive investing world. So we'll see, but there are institutions very active in this range, and we'll see what they do. So as long as it stays above 42, there is a path higher, but it looks like that drop makes the most sense. And so anyway, I just went through most of the Mag 7, like minus Tesla, plus some very big semis. They're all either completing their 5th waves, put in the top, or have a path higher that's kind of iffy. And think about the market cap weight of the stocks I just talked about. I'm talking 30% of the S&P 500 roughly that I just went through, And so when you start seeing that, you got to think about a weight around a trend. And so can the S&P push higher? Yeah. But unless you start seeing big breakouts with like small caps, the Qs, then that breakout will probably be limited in what it can do. And this to me is the best case scenario right here, 775 to 7,200, somewhere in there. Okay.